Friday the 13th is one of my favorite days of the year, next to Christmas, Halloween, and Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yes, that's real. It's an international Talk Like a Pirate Day. It's a whole thing, but it's been going on for a while. Trust me, it's real. For a lot of people, Friday the 13th is associated with the culmination of all the bad luck being manifested in one big day. You know, don't be unlucky and all that. You know, you keep your clovers in on you and all that. But for me and a lot of other people, Friday the 13th is associated with one thing. One of the best horror franchises out there. Best slasher villain ever, Jason Voorhess. Yeah, I'm not saying one of. I'm being definitive. That dude is woo! Out of all the monsters, villains associated with hunting down and ripping apart unsuspecting victims, there is no one quite like Jason. There's no one as iconic or just raw as Jason. He is a man of no words and no ways to stop him. Whether it be in his own movie, battling Freddy Krueger, or, you know, in a death battle between Michael Myers. This spirit of vengeance is easily one of the most beloved horror villains. One of the most beloved horror characters in general. But despite being well loved and being a part of a 12-movie franchise, side note, it's a crime that there's like no 13th Friday the 13th movie. Like, it's you're one number off. You're one number off from having the 13th movie. It doesn't make sense why he doesn't have it. No, I don't understand why. But despite having all those movies, Jason, he really has 4 official games. And if you would count his inclusion in Mortal Kombat X, then you would have 5. You would have only 5 official games. In the name of Jason Voorhess and Friday the 13th in general, we're going to be going through all the games where you can play as or battle against Jason in official capacity, from just the really old to the most recent, including a very classic fighting game that actually has 2 different playable Jasons. Be sure to stick around for that. Because we're starting not at the beginning, but one of the most famous examples of Jason being playable, Mortal Kombat X. Back when Mortal Kombat 9 was featuring their first guest character, Freddy Krueger, everyone was asking NetherRealm to add Jason to the game so we could finally have a Freddy versus Jason fight in an official capacity. That didn't really go anywhere, even though PlayStation has an exclusive DLC character and Xbox didn't get anything. Hey, can you tell I played on Xbox? And while we didn't get that, we did end up getting Jason in the game afterwards. All the different variations and whatnot, the different powers and moves, all that. Jason was actually pretty well represented in Mortal Kombat X. So overall, Jason ended up becoming like a grappler character, which honestly makes a lot of sense. A lot of times, Jason's kind of grabbing people, slamming them, doing a whole bunch of stuff. Jason's pretty hands-on when he doesn't have a weapon. But although he can choose a variant where he gets his machete, he has his giant range because you have a giant knife, right? And you can just start throwing it because it's a heavy projectile. So it's pretty dangerous with that variant. Though, to be fair, him being resurrected is also pretty terrifying too. And unlike other characters, Jason's ending was pretty short and sweet. You know, Jason just kills a lot of people. Evil Liu Kang shows up, offers Jason to kill endless people, and without saying anything else, Jason just kills Evil Liu Kang. So that's it. That is literally his ending. Short and sweet, like I said. But overall, it makes sense why this is like the most popular of like the playable Jason examples, other than like the Friday the 13th game, you know? Because, you know, you have... Jason just fits perfectly in Mortal Kombat X. Jason is one of these characters just makes so much sense for him to be in there. It just, yeah, I could definitely see it, right? But although I kind of wish it was done better. Like, I wish it would have been nice if he had his own stage. Like, come on, imagine playing on Camp Crystal Lake, right? Yeah, it just, I don't know. Would have been amazing to have at least some costumes or a stage or whatever. But they overall definitely did an amazing job with how they showed off Undead Jason. I say Undead Jason because, honestly, all the stuff that he does is from, like, 6 and onwards. There's not really anything there from classic Jason from, you know, 2 through 4 and all that, you know? So, yeah, it's just whenever he got resurrected, which, fair. Most people kind of associate Jason with, you know, zombie Jason and all that, you know? Next up is Friday the 13th for the Commodore 64. And the age of this game really shows. Is this bingo? E-I-E-I-O. No, what is E-I-E-I-O? Why is there Old McDonald playing? Bro, how is this Friday the 13th? While I gotta give this game some credit and some respect for being the first Friday the 13th game, ooh, man. Oh, man. this game is just really confusing. You gotta kind of start it off right, you know? So, firstly, if you just go ahead and say yes to all the questions you get from the start, you know, infinite time, infinite energy, etc., you're gonna just be stuck running around in an empty world. You're not gonna know what's going on because no one's dying. There's just nothing happening. There's no action. So you're just gonna be like, you know, you'll just be playing a game where you expect Jason, only to end up wandering around while Old MacDonald, the funeral song and the marriage song, and other really old songs play, and it's just not a fun time. You're just gonna be like, what am I doing here? But when you have your settings right, aka just say no to everything. Just type N, and you know, just there you go. It'll still actually take you quite a bit to realize what's going on. Cause see, there's no Jason Voorhess. Yeah, no, I'm not kidding you. This game only has Jason's mask in the intro, but no Jason. The villain who is killing your friends, the villain who you have to hunt down is named Jason. When you win, and at the start of the game, it says Jason, right? Jason Voorhess, that guy. But instead of looking like a scary killer, you know, with the mask and the tallness and the beefiness, you know, looking all scary and whatnot, right? He just looks like a goth camper. And I only knew that was supposed to be Jason because I saw him attacking another camper. I only discovered what Jason looks like because I saw him killing the camper right in front of me, just giving me the biggest clue. There wasn't anything in the introduction to tell me what Jason looked like. So I just was like, well, someone's dying. The evil person is probably the person killing, you know? But what's even weirder is that Jason morphs. Jason camouflages into the different campers in the whole camp, right? It's like they fused Friday the 13th with The Thing. And the funniest part is, the way that you're supposed to find out who is Jason is that you just go around the camp, swing your axe, because the axe is the most powerful weapon, and just random campers until one of them morphs back, until one of them becomes a little goth camper that's probably going to be going all, hey, you know? So the rest of the campers, you're just going to be ending up looking like a maniac, just swinging a blade into them, and just because they might be Jason, right? Just, hey, hold on, can I swing an axe at you? Why? Well, you know, you might be Jason. You're the person we need to look out for. Oh, well, that's fine. And at the end, there's not really an ending. This is one of those endless games, right? Like, sure, you beat Jason, go on to the next camper, and so on and so on and so on. But it loops. It's really just like a high score game that is Among Us, in a way. It's like Among Us with a high score. Though, I will say, the empty atmosphere does make the game kind of unnerving at some points. You know, it gives a little bit of a creepy vibe since you don't know what's going to happen, and suddenly just a loud scream. Maybe some skulls will jump scare you. Like, it's actually kind of crazy how that happens. Some people are clearly dying. What the hell? I gotta say, though, this game is pretty fun on its own. But as a Friday the 13th game, I gotta say, the route that they went to make a game was very odd, to say the least. But I can understand that there had to have been some limitations when it came to making games like this back then. So I can, in all fairness, go hard on the game. You know, I think it was fun. Would I go back to it? Maybe, but you know, it definitely just shows its age for sure at the end of the day. Next up is another retro Jason game, but this one is a major classic amongst just all Friday the 13th fans, you know? Friday the 13th on the NES is a very well-known game, introducing the world to retro Jason. You know, the purple and blue Jason goodness. This Wildberry Pop-Tart looking Jason is theorized to maybe have made an attempt to stand out in the background, because, you know, purple and blue and all that. Not really a lot of things are purple and blue in the game. Or the developers got inspired by a color scheme that Jason had in the Part 3 art for advertising. Either way, I think it looks really good on him. I think it definitely stands out. It definitely, you know, I definitely like seeing them in future games where they kind of reference the costume and all that and the action figures. It just, I don't know. Purple and blue just kind of looks nice, even though to a lot of people it does look kind of confusing. I can understand that. I can imagine a good chunk of people, however, know of this game because of the well-remembered episode from AVGN where Jason Voorhess forces the nerd to continue playing the game. It's definitely been a game where a lot of people have definitely heard of it before. If you know Friday the 13th, you've definitely heard of this game. While I greatly respect the iconic nature of this game, and the fact that it is rather complex for a survival horror game of this time, the game is just hard. I'm just straight up. Especially if you do not have a strategy for this game. If you're just fumbling about, you don't know what you're doing, you're probably gonna lose. You're not gonna know what you're doing. Even the hint at the start of the game is a red herring. It is a lie. And I imagine if you do end up having a plan, which I tried to have a plan at the start from when I played it, you still have to play very cautiously to keep your health, because when you do end up fighting Jason, you're bound to sacrifice health in order to take him down, because you just have to just attack. Can't dodge. You just have to attack because, you want him to be dead. This is definitely a game that I want to be able to revisit at some point, because even though the windscreen for being this really hard game is nothing to really write home about, I do want to actually say that I've beaten this game and just, actually tell the truth on that. You know what I mean? Overall, I would definitely recommend this game for someone if they want a really challenging game and if they like Jason Voorhess and all that. This definitely is very serviceable. It's really, really pretty fun, honestly. I will say one thing, though. Be careful whenever you go into the forest and the caves. You're going to be lost 100%. Now, after this game, it would be a whole 28 years, almost 3 decades, until a new Friday the 13th game would finally show up. Before we talk about that, I do want to talk about a popular fan game that came out 2 years ago before that game. Terror Drum Rise of the Boogeyman is a fan-made fighting game featuring a whole bunch of famous horror characters. Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Ghostface, Ash Williams, and both classic human Jason and the undead Super Jason that we're all more well familiar with. This game also has a lot of characters that I've never even heard of, but I imagine a lot of horror fans definitely know them for sure, such as this giant cop, Alfred, Medic from TF2, and a xenomorph if it was covered in a foreskin. Seriously, I'm dead ass, that's what it looks like. By having issues trying to get my controller to work, and the fact that changing inputs was basically impossible for this game, the game was actually really fun to play. I did really enjoy that there were actually 2 Jasons, giving a full showcase of how Jason was like in the early movies compared to the later movie, where he was an undead spirit of vengeance. It definitely felt like a very thorough love letter to the Friday the 13th series, which I definitely really enjoyed that for sure. It's also really badass that everyone has their own slasher move that just pops the head off of your opponent so you can have as a trophy. That's pretty amazing, I ain't gonna lie. And I know that there's an online mode, but you gotta port forward or something, and I don't have a clue to how to do that. That's why I never really host any games in SRB 2K. Yep, that's definitely the reason. No other reason at all. So, if you're like me, you're probably going to end up having to use Parsec, just because it's easier and all that. But that also means that the person you're playing with might have some connection or frame issues. But let's be real, right? If you're the one hosting, you're going to be doing the boasting. Because, let's be real, a W's a W, am I right? But overall, though, this game is pretty fun. I just definitely wish it had some better settings, of course, and a better way to do online. But who's to complain for a fan game, though? I think it was really fun. I definitely thoroughly enjoyed it. It was definitely a hell of a good time. But hey, you know what? Speaking of W's, now we're finally going to be talking about Friday the 13th, the game, which this game was amazing back in the day. Back when it came out, it was thrilling, funny with all the proximity chat, and it just was a damn good time to play in. This game was also the origin of that whole, California Girls meme that everyone talks about it, because it came from the dances in the game. The dances made that meme, and now everyone just talks about it. Every time you see that game, you just think of that meme, Unfortunately, as I'm recording this game has taken and will still be taking some major hits, particularly from a lawsuit that has just halted all development of Friday the 13th media, from future movies and updates and DLC to the game itself. That's why we never got Uber Jason in the game as a costume, and in even worse news, the game is going to be delisted by the end of 2023 and then completely shut down by the end of 2024, making it effectively a dead game. I am really hoping that this game will end up being revived, because having an asymmetrical Friday the 13th game just being left as an unplayable corpse, it's not a fate worthy of the unkillable iconic monster that's just been well beloved for decades. Now, I'm not going to cover how it was like when it first came out, because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't there. That was a long time ago. I didn't have the money to buy the game. But I am going to talk about how the game is like now. And, well...
Yeah, I'd rather not risk it with...
Yeah, I literally hear them... I'm sorry? What is this? Wait, why is there 2 Jasons?
Huh? I don't think the game works.
Why is
like
there 2
that.
Jasons? Something's wrong. Something's very, very wrong. Yeah, this game has no moderation. It's really easy to hack this game, actually. You can just like look up Friday the 13th hacks, and it's just like boom, probably the thing that people use to have 2 Jasons. It's like the first result. So yeah, there could be multiple Jasons, and the survivor can just have the speed of, as if they had Sonic shoes on them, you know what I mean? And it's also not really exactly safe to stream. I mentioned before that there is a close proximity chat, right? Yeah, you can't turn that off. Like, even if you have the voice volume at 0 and you try turning off all voice chat options in settings, there's no actual way to turn it off. You'll still hear people talking. So, if you ever plan on streaming this game, just have the audio completely off, Just don't bother having sound on this game at all, because you're probably, it's not safe to really risk playing this game, just to have audio, then eventually you might run up to someone and they might say something very unfunny, and that could just get you banned from wherever you're streaming. That's definitely a huge issue. I ain't gonna lie with you. But despite all that, the game is still really fun though, and it just really does not deserve to be dying like this. I do just really genuinely hope that this game will be revived in one way or another through either fan means, like either like fan servers or just like something like that, or officially. This franchise just deserves to have more amazing multiplayer experiences with Jason, it's a shame that it's like the state it is now. But speaking of delisted games though, last game we're going to be going over is actually currently delisted, unfortunately. It was on Android, Steam, and Switch, etc., and it's called Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle. And despite looking like a Frankenstein of Roblox and pop figure aesthetics, this game's actually really good. The puzzles can get really hard. There are a lot of animations in this game, and they're all really well done. There's tons of levels to do, and Jason has a ton of costumes. You got Ice Jason, Apocalypse Jason, Night Jason, Caveman Jason. There's just so many amazing looking Jason costumes that just all look really good, and I would have loved to see them in like a movie or like in the Friday the 13th game, just they look so amazing. But I gotta say, out of all the Friday the 13th games I've played for this, I'm shocked to say that this is definitely the best one I've played out of the whole lot. I just felt so engaged the whole time. I just wanted to be able to unlock all the stuff. All the puzzles were really good. And even though by the end of it, all those tough puzzles were eventually making my brain kind of fried, and I was like, oh man, it's kind of hard to think and all that. I just had a blast at it. Like, it's a shame that it got delisted, because, man, more people actually need to hop on this game, because it's just really good. Side note, I think I just might be really bad at puzzle games. Is there someone I could see about that? So that was all the Friday the 13th games, plus, Mortal Kombat X and Terrordrome. And honestly, it's kind of a shame that someone could just play all the Friday the 13th games within one night. No joke. I've played all these games on one stream, and while it made it really convenient to be able to have it all in one VOD, to be able to edit down, to be able to, make this video, it's just really depressing to realize that the list of games where Jason is officially there, there's a little over 5. For someone that people can recognize by a glance, and someone who has a whole day basically dedicated towards, like, every time you hear Friday the 13th, a lot of people are going to think of the movie. They're going to think of Jason Voorhess. You just basically have all of that, but then only have a few amount of games dedicated to him where he's officially there. I was completely caught off guard to be able to find that out, I really hope at some point Jason will end up being able to show up in more movies and also get more video games, because, man, dude does deserve a lot better, both in lore and out of lore. It seems like Jason's getting a really rough one out of here. Bro is getting screwed. It's It's not right. It's not right. Jason deserves better. Well, that's been all the games featuring Jason. Hope you had a wonderful time. Thanks for watching all the way through, and have yourself a fun and wonderful Friday the 13th. And please, comment down below, what was your favorite game? Also, if Jason Voorhess were to get a new movie or a new video game, what do you think it should be about? Frankly, I think if we ever get a new Jason game, I think it should be another one where you could play as him. I don't know. Battling Jason's cool and all, but I want to be the man. And as for a movie, since it would be his 13th movie, I'm just thinking of having a full-out time-traveling celebration movie where maybe Jason's able to save his mother or something. Call it Friday the 13th forever. Anyways, I'm BZ. Take it easy, y'all. Please, take care of yourselves. Have yourselves a damn good one, y'all. Peace out. See ya. Happy Friday the 13th.